Welcome, Patty, to the Happy Healthy Caregiver podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so excited. And for those listening that know you well, mom is sleeping well and situated. I'm so excited to chat with you today. I know we met online, and what drew me to you was just your smile and the way that you seek the joy and the gratitude and everything. And I know that's what people appreciate about you that follow you. And then those that don't know you, they're in for a treat.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, so we pulled something from the Happy Healthy Caregiver jar to just kind of kick our show off here. And so I wanted to get your thoughts on this. This is a good one. It says the seven dwarves had the right idea. Whistle while you work. Is it possible to integrate work, or it is possible to integrate work and play? I can tongue tie today. The seven dwarfs had the right idea. Whistle while you work. It is possible to integrate work and play. Woo. What are your thoughts?
1000%. That's like me in a nutshell. Like, I just don't believe that work, whatever it is, for me right now, it's caring for my mom is my work, but we play every day. We have fun every day. Even as she's progressing, like, we still find time to have fun together. And so that one resonates with me. Same with, even in my, I was a kindergarten teacher before that. And I just found we had fun every day. I don't know why you would live a life that you're not, whistling while you're working. You're not playing and working.
Yeah, we only get one chance at this life that we have. I think it's interesting when I said the seven dwarves too. It's kind of like all the roles of caregiving in a way. It's like we're sleepy, sometimes we're doc, sometimes we're dopey. It's like
Yeah,
I
right.
know, I know. So yeah,
Sometimes we're grumpy.
sometimes we are grumpy. Yes, that's so true. Well, tell us about your caregiving story, Patty.
Okay, so I have been caring for my mom full time for about it's like 2.5 years now. She has had dementia for about 7 years, and she also has type 1 diabetes. So she required a lot of support pretty quickly. My dad was caring for her, but then his health started to decline, which is when I stepped in. She moved in with me about 2 years ago. And then 3 months after she moved in with me, my dad also got diagnosed with dementia. And then he moved into an assisted living facility because that was the right fit for him and my relationship. And then he actually passed in November. My mom has dementia, so it's progressive, it's progressing. She fell and broke her hip last year. We did rehab pretty well from that, but it is definitely leading to some decreased mobility, which is leading to, really seeing her dementia progress. I was working when she first moved in with me, I was still working full time and caring for her. But in September, I quit my job and I care for her full time. That's my full time job.
Yeah. Was that a tough decision for y'all, you and your husband to stop working?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a hard decision. Less hard with my husband. He's been so supportive of this role and this opportunity. His dad actually passed several years ago. And so
Mm.
he kind of understands, like, wishing that you had more time with your parent. And so the whole time he was like, I would do anything to have more time with my dad. So you have this opportunity to have this time with your mom. So he wanted me to quit like the day she moved in, but I love teaching. I had been at the same school for 9 years. Those families are my families.
Mhm.
I'm still friends with them. I text some of them still, like, their kids were my family. So it was really hard for me to give up teacher Patty. That's what I knew myself as. I knew myself as a teacher, and I'm one of those people that gets caught up in my role, and I do it with 1,000%. And so, but I was realizing that I was only giving 70% to my parents and 70% to the kids in my class, and that's not fair to either of them. And then
Mhm.
when I was doing that, I didn't have any time for me. There was no break. My break was working. And I'm going to be honest, I love kindergartners, but they are not a break.
I used to substitute teach, so I got a little taste of that.
Yeah.
Do you miss the like, what did they used to call you? Patty or Miss LaFleur?
They'd call me Mrs. LaFleur. Yeah.
Mrs. LaFleur and like down the hallway and the little hugs and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
they're so cute and you can make a big impact. Well, I think you still have a teacher role, Patty, because like I know I watch your videos and stuff on Instagram and on TikTok, and you are still, teaching this community about dementia.
Yeah, for sure. It's just different, but
It's
I
different.
think that my role as a teacher has really lent itself nicely to this because I worked in such a developmental age, right? And I always thought of my students as individuals and what they could do, right? What is the next thing that they can do? And although my mom is losing skills, so it's opposite, I
Mhm.
still really think about what she can do and I allow her all the opportunities to do what she can do, right? Like the kids in my class, if they couldn't count to 20 yet, let's say, but they could count to 10, I'm going to keep providing them opportunities where they can be successful. And that lends itself beautifully to my mom because it's just the way I think about people. I think about what they can do and not what they can't do.
Yeah, you meet them where they are, and I think that's such a struggle with a lot of people who are dementia caregivers because they're trying to kind of go back to the way things were, and it's I think it's more painful from what I've seen as a caregiver coach is if you're trying to get backwards where you can't really go instead of just accepting them where they are and realizing what they can do. And I see you, on your videos and stuff, giving mom choices like between two art projects or two outfits to wear. And so there are a lot of things that she can still do.
Totally. Yeah. It's just knowing what she can do and not doing things that are going to frustrate her. Right. Like I've seen lots of frustrated kids in my life. I'm not trying to see a frustrated mom.
Yeah, I think one of the beautiful things too is like I learned recently about you is you're adopted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not that it should matter because there's your mom, that's your mom and that's your dad
Yeah.
no matter what, but it was for anyone who's considering adoption and thinking about that like this is this is your family.
Oh, for sure. And I just actually feel like it was even more that we were meant to be. Like I just 1000% believe that we were meant to be. And it took even more of the universe working together for that to happen. Like she saved me when I was little, and now it's my opportunity to make the best, like the end of her life, as beautiful as possible.
Mhm. I love that. That's so true. Um, so you guys are young. You and your husband have been through so much, and I think we've spotlighted some on young caregivers before, but also with your professional career changing. I think there's a lot of things that people can get out of your experiences. What have some of the challenges been for you
Um, well, let's see. I mean, I'm
today?
like, where do I begin?
Yeah.
I think that a big challenge for me is the social aspect, and has been a big challenge for my husband and I, especially in the beginning. I'm doing a lot better now about doing respite and taking time for myself. But for the first year and a half that she lived with me, I didn't really. I mean, I did have breaks. I had a caregiver that was allowing me to work. But that's not spending time with my friends, spending time with my husband. I mean, I think it was a year into it before my husband and I had a like went out to dinner. I mean, granted, there was a pandemic, and so there was other factors, but even just him and I going upstairs, the two of us, and watching a movie or something, like we didn't have
Like
that.
intimacy. Yeah.
Yeah, that opportunity. We also, I mean, I've been pretty open about this as well. We wanted to start a family. We got married 3 years ago, going on 4 now, and we wanted to start a family, but this has thrown a big wrench in it in lots of ways, in the stress of caring for my parents. So it's just thrown a lot of wrenches
Mhm.
in what we thought our plans were. A lot of my friends, are actually all of my best girlfriends, already have kids, and so There's that, right? Like they just, we're on a whole different level of responsibility and where we are in life. So I think for me and my husband, that's been the biggest challenge. I mean, his best guy friends also have kids, right? So we want to be parents, but we're also understanding that this is a really important part and we could do both, but it just hasn't happened, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that's a huge challenge. And then obviously, in taking a step back from work, we don't have two incomes, which is a challenge itself, right? So that's been another thing that we've had to work through. And then just I mean, it's a lot. I'm grieving my mom every day, right? So emotionally, it's been a lot for me. And so, although I can show up as my best self to my mom, I don't always show up as my best self to my husband. Not that I'm like mean, but like I'm emotional. Like, how fun is that to be around?
Mhm.
And so, um, I've had to reach out to support from him. I've had to rely on him to help me with like lifting her and things like that, which I'm like I can do it all, which I know is pretty common with caregivers, but I just think I can do it all. So a challenge has been trusting and knowing that he is there for me. I mean, I remember like in the beginning, I was like struggling with things, and he'd be like, "We're on the same team. Like, this isn't your team and my team. Like, we're on the same team right here. So whatever you need, it's not like, tell me that you need me to help you. Don't ask me, just tell me like I need your help." And I'm like, okay, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's this thing that's like, well, she's my mom, but yeah, he's a partner. He's part of the team. I love that. And you call yourself a care partner, which is more that I love that term. I I struggle using care partner because I think it's hard enough sometimes for people to even identify as a caregiver, and it's like
Mhm.
but I love that term because it really is a partnership. You've got to like work together and meet halfway, and it's not just all give. There is some receiving there too.
Yeah.
um and so that's I'm glad that that you have his support. And then you mentioned the grieving, and it is like anticipatory grief is a real thing, like you said, that they're getting doing less and less for themselves and changing every day. Like, I know recently you all had a fun trip to Disney World, and what a great like memory for you both to have that. And but as sometimes can happen, things happen, and she was hospitalized not soon afterward, and then you were having to advocate for her and um talk about maybe like what's going on right now. I know too that you've been thinking about or getting you have a hospice intake appointment, I think, like tomorrow.
Yeah, they actually just called before this call too. So yes, so I have, even before we went to Disney, I noticed a decline. I had started to notice a decline, and I actually was going back and forth on, do I even do Disney at like in my head. I never really vocalized it, but I was like going back and forth. And then I just decided to do it, which I'm still so thankful I did it.
Yes,
And we
yes.
did it. I mean, even, yeah, we did it. It was great. My mother-in-law came too, thank God. But I had noticed a decline. And then since her hospitalization and all of that, I've just noticed a really significant decline. So I have made the really hard, but I think right decision in contacting hospice. And we had like our phone interview, and we had the discharge doctor do a referral for it. So it's seeming that tomorrow the intake process will occur and she will start hospice services. The thing that I have found, though, in my conversations with the people so far has been the way that I talk about my mom. I talk really about what she can do, and what they are looking for is actually more what she can't do. And so the lady that I did the interview with this morning, she just was like, I want you to make sure that you're really thinking about how much you're doing, and that this isn't, the fact that your mom needs hospice isn't a reflection on any of the care that you've provided or the love. it is just the progression. And so make sure that you're being honest and open with how much you're doing for her. And that to me was like, oh wow, what a shift. I don't talk that way about kids. I don't talk that way about people. I don't talk that way about my mom. So I really am going to have to shift how I'm speaking when I'm having a conversation about what her needs are, which is so hard for me.
That's such a good point, the reflection that you had, because I think that's true with caregiving that, um, you know, it's hard to make the case for more help. In this case, hospice help or help from your family members or help even from your care partner if you potentially aren't being vulnerable with what's happening in your headspace. Like, yes, you can do it, but at what cost? Like, is it becoming, emotionally tough for you? Is it, what cost to the relationships that you've had? Like you've mentioned some of these things. And so I'm proud of you, Patty, because I think a lot of people like wait too long to kind of get hospice on board because they think like I'm not ready to give up on this, and it's not a giving
Yeah.
up.
No.
It's just to reach out for more help because they do have services, and Medicare pays for a lot of Medicare will pay for hospice when they won't pay for a lot of other things right now.
Totally.
Yes. And so that's less on your plate as far as, getting the medications, getting the supplies. They'll have people coming to you versus you having to take mom places. They'll help
Yes.
you with personal care. Like you mentioned, like it's hard to lift your mom now, or maybe she can't help herself as much. And so that, all of that is a gift. And these people are, from what I've had, and, we've been through, I don't know,
Yeah.
3 or 4 hospice experiences, is no regrets. Like these people are
Yeah.
angels from heaven on
Yeah.
earth. Yes. They just,
For sure. Yeah,
hmm
that's what I just feel like it's getting more supports. It's we have already entered the next part of our journey, right? Like, and so now I need the supports to support us on this part of the journey. It's a progression, it's happening. And so what are the tools? And
hmm
it was even the lady asked me today, like, is your mom bed bound? And I'm like, no, like I get her up all the time. She's like, does she get up or do you get her up? I'm like, well, I lift her. Like I have to fully lift her to get in the wheelchair. She's like, well, then you need to remember like that just because you're doing all these wonderful things with her, like if you weren't there, she would be bedbound if she was in a facility or she was there. I'm like,
hmm
okay, good to remember. So
Yeah,
I
the
just,
activities of daily living. Like she has to be able to transfer and do certain things. Like they're looking to kind of check certain boxes.
yeah,
hmm
yeah. So I just have to, yeah. I'm like, oh, she does all those things. We still do art. We're still singing. We do all this. But yeah, it's all because I'm providing those opportunities.
Yeah, it's like she can't get up on her own, but yeah, it's like this.
I was like, I get her up. We get up
I know
every
you
day.
do. You do some amazing things. You have, I think, really are the epitome of like things to do with your, older adult, aging parent that has cognitive issues or any kind of thing. Because I think a lot of people struggle about like maintaining that bond of the mother-daughter relationship. And so maybe it's your teaching background, maybe it's just your personality, but you all are doing your art projects and doing different activities together. And just talk about that. Like, how do you plan? I don't know. Are you lesson planning? What are you doing,
No,
Patty?
definitely not. I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't lesson plan in teaching. I just like not formally, I guess. I mean, there of course there is definitely the prep component. So I'm not going to say that that piece isn't there. But honestly, my mom and I always did activities together. She was a quilter, she was a puzzler. We loved holidays. We always like did all of that together. So I thought when she moved in with me, like same, like what are the things that she can still do and attend to, and what are the things that she used to love to do, and how can I make both of those things happen, right? Like we can still paint decorations for every holiday. Every holiday we find some little decoration we're going to paint, and then now it's really cool because will have those for the rest of my life to decorate my house with. But I just really think about what she enjoyed doing and what I mean, also what I enjoy doing. And then we just try it. We try lots of things. I do think that my teaching background doesn't hurt in that, because I have done a lot of craft projects with kids, and I've done I think a lot about sensory. I think about how important sensory experiences really are for anyone and how calming that can be. So we do a lot of sensory
What
bags.
does that mean, like a sensory experience, just in case people don't know?
Yeah, so just like anything that you can use one of your senses with. We do a lot with touch, just because that's something that she's still able to attend to. Taste is really hard for her because of her diabetes. I try not to like do taste experiments, but any sort of thing that you can experience with your senses that's just an experience. It's just about being in that moment. And I think so much of what I do with my mom is about the experience and not ever about the end product. So something like a sensory bag or something like a sensory item is just her feeling and us talking about it and her exploring and just living in the moment with it.
Yeah, so it's
So
like when you have a craft project, it's not necessarily that you're expecting for it to look like this. It's just the fact of her having that therapy.
yeah. Well, and we just have fun together. Like, it's so silly. I mean, we'll be there and I'm like, okay, let's stick it on the paper. And then she's like kissing it. And I'm like, okay,
Yes.
just live with it. Like,
Lots
we're
of
just
things
gonna
are
live in it.
going. She loves to try to sniff it, taste it, and you're right.
Oh,
That's why you're right there with her. We'll share a
oh yeah. I
TikTok
mean, I don't
video. Yeah,
yeah,
so
I do not have her do activities. At this point, she would not attend to an activity independently. But for anyone, I mean, I wouldn't spend the time thinking of activities if I wasn't going to do it with her. Like, I'm not coming up with things to keep her busy. I'm coming up with things that we can do together. If I just wanted to keep her busy, I'd put her in front of the TV or something. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, and that's how I'm able to maintain a positive relationship with her, I think, is because we do so many fun things together that it makes it, when we're doing the not fun things like showering, going to the bathroom, it makes them a little bit more fun because we are maintaining a relationship that's positive the other part of the time.
Hmm. I mean, your mom and my mom would have been buds, I think. Like my mom
Yeah.
was also, she loved to cook and she loved puzzles and
Yeah.
she was bedridden the last couple of years, but we did a lot of fun things together. When I would go visit, she was in my sister's care at this point, and I would go up, about every 3 months, and it would change though. So like she used to love play Scrabble. Well, then we had to change it to, because she could only do the TV tray, like whatever you can fit on her bed. And so it was
Yeah.
bananagrams. And maybe it wasn't playing bananagrams, but just playing with the tiles, or,
Exactly.
Play-Doh was a big thing that I
Yeah.
introduced. And it's funny how, like, I remember her playing Play-Doh with me, and then the roles are reversed. And then, so it's just like thinking of like, what's a good scaled down version, like a Benjamin Button. Remember the movie where he like ages
Yeah.
backwards? It's like, what can you do there? Um, I love that. And you're making memories together. You're kind of one of the first people that introduced me to the idea of making an Amazon wish list for your loved one. And especially when caregivers like yourself are have to left the workplace, it's like, yeah, you're going to need supplies and things to kind of keep that going. So how did that come about, and talk about what that could look like for somebody else that's listening?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when my mom moved in with me, bless my dad's heart, he was not at a place where he could care for her. And so when she moved in with me, she moved into my house with two shirts, and they were his old button ups, and one pair of shoes and some socks and some pants. And that's all I had. I mean, we had some Depends, and my dad, also bless his heart, he was very, very strict about money. He was always very conservative. And so he was like, I don't want you spending our money to buy those things. She has things that works. That's who he was. And it only
Hmm.
got worse as he got older. So I mean, she moved in, and that's all we had, right? And I had to somehow figure out how I was going to get a bunch of things for her. Well, it initially started with a bunch of our family members were like, well, what does she need? What does she need? And I'm like, oh, it was so overwhelming to try to be like, tell them like you get depends, but then what if they didn't? Right. Like, so then I just said, why don't I had a wish list in my classroom. Like, why don't I just create an Amazon wish list and then share it with our friends and family? So I did that, and I got a ton of things for her right away because they want to help, right? Especially your friends and family. They want to help, but they don't know how to help, or they're not nearby, or they don't have the time to help, or they don't have the space. I mean, everyone has a lot going on, right? And she moved
Mhm.
in with me in the beginning of the pandemic. Like, there was a lot going on for every person in the world, right? So that is kind of how it started. And then now it's just evolved as we've evolved, right? Like, it's gone a lot less from needing pants or needing socks or needing things like that to just like, what are fun activities that we are going to do together? And then, well, if somebody buys it for us, that's lovely. And if not, then we'll do something else. So it's just
It's
been,
a wish list.
yeah, it's been a
Yeah.
lifesaver because I didn't know in the beginning. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, okay, well, I'm gonna go to Kohl's right now and buy everything that I can find. But then, with quitting my job, like, we didn't have, my husband's like, yeah, you don't really need to be going and buying her things, but people still want to help. One of my like dearest family members is my cousin, and she lives in Texas. And about every month, she picks something off the Amazon wish list and sends it to us. And that's her way of helping out. And it's
Mhm.
so helpful, right?
So helpful and so fun to get packages in the mail.
For sure. And it's so fun for my mom. It's a little bit harder now. She just struggles with opening. But man, in the beginning, it was just like every day was Christmas. She was like, what? I mean, I
Well,
remember the
yeah.
first Christmas she moved in with us. We had so many presents from people, like, even and like people that have been in my life, like my college friends or my high school friends that I don't talk to on a regular basis, were accessing the wish list and buying things for my mom. And like, the love and support that I felt from my like real life friends and my, online friends. I mean, I just can't. A lot of people talk about how they don't have support on this journey, and I couldn't be more thankful for the support I have on my journey.
Yeah, and there's nothing there doesn't cost anything to create a wish list for yourself too. Like as a caregiver, if somebody wants to get you a self-care item or just something just because like hey, you're doing an amazing job and I want to love on you, like
Yeah.
yeah, have a care wish list for yourself and a wish list for someone else and
Yeah.
what an easy way for somebody to help that can't
Yeah.
can't get there a long distance. And I love that like
Yeah.
perfect. So I'm sure strangers of that follow you are just buying you some things too.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, I mean, it is just, I think often that people don't know how to help in situations like this. And there are a lot of things that my friends or family cannot help with, right? They can't lift my mom or they can't do these things. But what a way for them to feel and actually be helping. They're not just buying something random. I'm putting things on there that she uses. They're not,
Mhm.
we've had people buy presents and then it's not the right size. And I'm not getting to the store to return it. But if it's on the Amazon wish list, we want
Yeah,
it.
you want it and it's the right item, it's the right size
It's
and
helpful.
especially with their diabetes, like some certain foods, I'm sure you have had to vet. So I think that's an amazing experience. So
Yeah.
Amazon wishlist people. The other thing Patty and I have in common is we both recently signed up to be champions for caregiving.com, me for the Atlanta area, and you for where in Washington are you?
Seattle. Yeah. Like the Seattle area.
Yes. And do you want to just talk about it? What's the champion program? This will be a
Yeah,
practice for us.
I'm so excited about it. It is like everything that a new caregiver or a caregiver that has been doing it for a while could ever want. So it's just first of all, caregiving.com is awesome. What they believe in, their mission, the connections, the people that I've met through it. That's awesome. But I love that it is creating a free resource list for caregivers and care partners and the community. And I just think it's going to be really powerful and impactful for new caregivers. Like, I just can't wait to start talking about it and sharing it with people because,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure same with you. One of the first questions is like, who do I call? Where can I go? And I mean, I always tell people like, call the Department of Aging in your county, call the Alzheimer's Association. But now I can be like, okay, go to caregiving.com and then call those later.
Yeah, put your zip code in and then find resources that will help caregivers. And I love that it's not just the norm of what we think about, like with assisted living and, senior services and things like that, but it's like mobile dog groomers, people who will come and clip toenails in your home or
Totally.
whatever. Yeah, like the
Yeah.
real things that we've struggled to find are going to be listed there. And so if you're in the Seattle area, the Atlanta area, and you want to talk to Patty and I about that, we can. If you or just go on caregiving.com and you'll get more
Yeah.
information about that. So that's launching soon.
I
Um,
also love that it's like any sort of caregiving. I often will meet people who are also caregivers, but they're not caregivers for a loved one with dementia. So I have a lot of dementia resources, right? Because that's of course what I'm looking for, but it's all things. I mean, and
yeah.
things for the caregiver, right? Like yoga. I mean, it's just gonna be amazing.
Yeah. Yes. I'm excited to not have to lug around my binder of stuff that's probably outdated. So
Yeah,
this will
for
be so
sure.
nice to have a digital place to send
Yeah,
people.
check it out. Yeah.
Check it out. Yeah. How about your self-care? Let's switch to that topic. Like you find joy in life, obviously, but you talked about how for a while you didn't you had to kind of get your systems and your flow down, I think, before you could really look into respite. But what was that process like? Like where have you found respite?
For sure. So I think one of the biggest forms of respite for me has been that I have decided. So I guess let me start over. um, so when my mom first moved in with me, we had a caregiver. Amazing, love her. She was wonderful. She was one of my friends. She's an actual caregiver. She was incredible. I cannot say enough good things about her. But she was giving me a break so that I could work. But then I was having this like guilt because I wasn't spending time with my mom. So then, of course, I wasn't going to hire someone on the weekend because then why am I'm away from my mom already? I think it's probably similar to new moms or any other caregivers in any aspect. But then once I decided to quit my job, like a few months before that, I was like, I need to find some sort of respite. It needs to be, I like spending time with my mom. I like having a routine. I like that I get to spend the days with her. Like I quit my job to spend time with her. So I didn't want to keep a full-time caregiver and then a break, like have someone else. Like, so I decided like, what could I do so that I can get a break? So we interviewed some people to have them come into the home. There's some pretty lovely people, but then I realized also that her being here isn't a break also. Like her being
Yeah.
here and there being a caregiver, I know myself, I'm gonna be like, how's it going? Like I'm gonna be spending my break would be talking to the caregiver, talking to her. So
Hmm.
I decided to start looking for some respite care outside of the home. And so what I've decided is now every month or every about 5 or 6 weeks, I just have a weekend where she goes to a memory care facility in the area. And she spends a weekend there. And I spend a weekend doing whatever I would like to do, spending time with my husband, getting a massage, spending time with my girlfriends, kind of whatever
Hmm.
I would like to do during that time.
Sitting on your couch watching Netflix,
Yeah,
whatever you want to
for
do.
sure. The
Yeah.
process for finding it was challenging because of her diabetes. So she needs a place that has 24-hour skilled nursing. But I went to a ton of places and I settled on one that feels like home. They're lovely and wonderful. And she always comes back exhausted, which I think is a good sign. And it has been such a game changer. I just let her go away for the weekend and I don't worry about it. And then I just let myself, be Patty because I kind of forgot Patty in this process for a while. And these weekends give me the chance to remember who
Yeah.
I am and connect with my friends who have been so supportive and so patient. But I just couldn't spend time with them in the same way that I
Hmm.
had in the
No,
past.
you deserve to live this season of your life, this young Patty,
Yeah,
married life together and do that. I think, and it was that, um, did you have to private pay for the respite?
it is private paid.
Okay. But people need to understand, I think, that that is an option, that there are some memory care facilities and some assisted living facilities where it's almost like a really specialized hotel, if you want to think about it, where you
Exactly.
can pay for a couple nights or pay for a week, and that's how you
Exactly.
can take a vacation and do
Yeah,
it before it's an emergency. Like, you've kind of vetted and made a
exactly.
relationship with this place. Like,
Exactly. I mean, of course, after the first time, me being me, I was like, we're never going back there, but all I needed to do was have a conversation. And so I had a conversation, and then it's been amazing ever since, right? Like, I was like, oh, I just wondered about this. They're like, oh, we didn't know that she needed that at nighttime. Like, that was never discussed. I'm like, oh, that was on me. Oh, sorry, and I just think that yeah, I learned that it is very important for me to have these breaks. And if I'm in a private pay someone for 5 days a week, let's say, I mean, it's cheaper in a sense for me to have her do the
mhm.
weekend. I would say anyone that's thinking about it, definitely if they allow day stays. So she started by doing day stays there.
Mm.
So she would go for a few hours. Just to kind of get your feet wet and kind of get to know the people. So she would go do a day stay probably for about 4 or 5 months before we did our first overnights, just so I could kind of get to know the people and feel more comfortable. And she felt more comfortable. And like you said, the emergency was kind of why I started it in the beginning. Like,
Mm.
what if something happens to me, or, had my husband and I gotten pregnant at that point, like, I would have had to have a time where I can't care for her and deliver a baby. That's not going to happen. So
No, or if you get sick, like you said, or something happened, or you wanted to be somewhere in a hurry, that another friend
exactly.
had a issue, like, stuff happens.
Exactly. So, and I have a bag that I keep packed. It's like our emergency bag for her for then. And my husband knows where it's at, just in case something, you never know what happens. And that would be
Hmm.
the last thing that I would want to be worrying about, where she's going in an emergency.
I think that's so good. What does self-care look like for you in between the respite? Now that you've kind of gotten in your groove, like, what are some ways that you're able to infuse your self-care daily?
For sure. Well, I am a big believer in therapy. And so, in working with my therapist, I have come up with some strategies that are really supportive. So, I journal every day, I journal. And also, every day, I spend time just me. We follow I'm a very big believer in a schedule. So, we follow it's a little bit looser now, but she still gets up at the same time and goes to bed at the same time. And by her going to bed at the same time, I have a predictable time that
Mm.
I get, that's just me, right? Like, my husband goes to bed, my mom goes to bed, my dog goes to bed. I have 1 hour that I can just sit on the couch, have a glass of wine or have water, whatever it is, depending on the night, drink my tea. I mean, who knows? It depends on the day.
Whatever the body needs, yeah.
Yeah, and I can read my book, or I can play a game on my tablet, or I can watch TV. I can do whatever I want for that hour. Granted, life happens and that doesn't always go that way, but I would say 95% of the time I have 1 hour that's just for me. And the other
I
thing
feel
is, because of her diabetes, I have to check her at certain times. So I kind of have to follow a schedule anyway. And that I have to check her at 9:30. So then perfect. I get an hour, and then I can check her blood sugar, and then it's bed. Everyone can go to bed. It's no big deal. So I think that for me, it's having a schedule and then building into that schedule the time for me. I build in time in the morning to try to work out most days, if I'm not like so tired because we had a rough night, but just building that time into your day for yourself, and then really dedicating it to yourself, because I think it's so easy to have your whole day be about the other person. But I mean, part of the reason why I think the word partner is so important is because I'm such an important part of this partnership too. And so I have to remember that if I'm not healthy and if my brain isn't in the right space, I can't care for her. She doesn't want me to be breaking myself. So where are the times throughout our day that I can make time for myself? And my mom did that. Like, she was a model. I remember that we'd go to bed, 8:30 or 9, and she'd stay up from 9 to 10:30 was her time. My dad was in bed, me and my sister were in bed, and she just had her time. So I saw that from a young age that my mom
Yeah.
modeled,
Now
you
that you
know.
mention it, my mom was a night owl. She would do the same thing, and she had 6 kids, and
Oh my gosh,
I
yeah.
know
She needed it.
she would write her book. So that's kind of where the writing came from, but on a typewriter. Like, yeah, with correction tape. She would write her book and she would read chapters
Yeah.
to us on it. So that's good. Yes.
My mom would watch TV.
Yeah. Well, my mom also did have her days of her lives. Like, she used to get so mad. I remember if I was homesick, if my dad called during days of our lives before, cell phones and all that. It was like, he knows it comes on at the same time
Yeah.
every day. So funny. All right, Patty, it's time for the lightning round. We're going to do some questions from the Just For You Daily Self-Care Journal. And the idea is to hopefully infuse self-care into the day. So I picked this question out for you because I know you all went to Disney. If you were a Disney character, who would you be?
I would be, I have to think for a second. I mean, my favorite Disney princess is Rapunzel, but I don't think I would be Rapunzel. I think that if I was any Disney character, I'd probably be Belle. I think Belle, I mean, I have to think of the princesses because they're my favorite, but I think that I would be Belle because she's like very smart. She's very like loves herself, even though other people in the town don't love her, and she knows what she's about and she stands her ground, but she also has like a soft side and she can be so sweet. So yeah, I think that I would be Belle.
I love it. She's my favorite princess.
Yeah,
Partly
I
because
mean,
of the reading. I love books too.
yeah, that's what I was like. She loves books. She holds strong to that too. She doesn't let those people be like bossing her around. She loves her dad so much.
Yes, it's so sweet. Um, so this is in our theme of activities. So what activity did you do as a child that brought you joy?
So many. I will say for me, some of my favorite memories are playing games with my mom. We would always play games together. We would play like Scrabble, and we would play Uno and card games and solitaire. I mean, Nerds. I mean, we played so many games together that just, yeah, I just have such a positive relationship with games because she did. And also we put like every year she would get herself a puzzle from Santa for Christmas, and we would always do it on New Year's Eve. Like every New Year's Eve we would do that. So I just have such fond memories of puzzling and gaming with my mom.
That's so good. Um, oh, we talked a lot about physical activity. Um, okay, well, you don't have to close your eyes, but it says close your eyes and picture something good happening in your life. What did you visualize?
I think right now the good that is happening in my life is just really embracing the next step. So understanding that by bringing hospice in, or by bringing in extra support, that's exactly what it is. And I'm already feeling like such a weight off my shoulders. I've been feeling really tense and really nervous about making the decision, and I spent lots of last week in tears, but this week I'm feeling so confident in my decision, and I'm feeling so excited in some ways about the support that I'll be receiving. Yes, it will be very hard. There'll be hard times and hard moments and hard things that are coming, but there's also going to be this feeling of joy and this feeling of really understanding that now it's about whatever my mom wants. I was feeling for the last couple of months, I really needed to keep pushing her and keep doing things like, we need to walk every day, we need to do this. But now it's really going to be this ability to step back and let my mom take the lead in what she's feeling and be okay with that and find the joy in that. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to encourage her to get up or encourage her to, play a game or encourage her to color with me, but it doesn't have to be so stringent in those things. And I'm always worrying about, like, is she eating enough fruits and vegetables? Is she doing this enough? And and I just get to let some of that go and just really be there, just really be with my mom. I'm such a planner, and I'm like, we're gonna redo this little living room area that we typically hang out in. There's like couches, but we're gonna bring her hospital bed in there, and we're just gonna make it such a comfy, cozy spot for us to just be
Mm-hmm.
together and really just cherish these moments instead of really, I mean, I don't want to say torture, but really like having her do things that she doesn't enjoy anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard there's a balance between like pushing her and encouraging her for her own health and happiness, and then just like you say, like letting go a little bit and just being present and holding her hand and talking to her. And um it's interesting. My mom's bed, we moved into the family room the
Yeah,
last couple of years. And so it was just like she was in the mix of everything, and we have a
exactly.
big family when we all get together. And it was like, oh,
Yeah,
there, mom's hanging out over there and she can hear all
yeah,
of this, and people kind of pop in
yeah,
and talk to her. But it's yes, it's
yeah,
gonna be okay, Patty. You're
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to get to be there and just in the way that she was always for me. And so this is just such an opportunity that I just get to be in the moment with her. I'm really pretty good typically about being in the moment, but
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of in this disease kind of waiting for what's next. And now that kind of some of the what's next has happened, like now we just get to be in this space.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah. How do people kind of continue to, start or continue to follow your journey?
I'm kind of all over the place. So, my Instagram is Miss Patty Cake, and that was my personal Instagram, and I just never changed it. I honestly, it's still my personal Instagram because on sharing my mom's story is just part of my life. I don't share it for any other reason than the fact that this is what's happening.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
then I'm Care Partner Patty on Facebook and TikTok. So those, and carepartnerpatty.com is like our little blog. So those are
Yes.
kind of the main ways that you could follow my journey or our
Yep.
journey.
And support you. Yes, for sure. Because that is I'm sure it's a lifeline for you in a lot of ways with
Oh,
being, yeah.
yeah. I mean, the friends, I mean, they're my friends, the people that I've made on this journey that are doing the same thing as me. They're my friends. Like, I have thought a little bit about what life looks like for me after caregiving, just, also seeing some of my online friends losing their parents recently. And I've thought a lot about it. And I'm like, maybe I'll go see all my friends that I've made. Like, maybe it'll just be this whole journey and go see all my friends. Like, okay.
You're always welcome to come to Atlanta. We've got room for you. So, yeah, and you can go see your other and help out them. You'd be a whole tour of a Care Partner Patty tour.
Yeah, right. I'm like, I'll just go see everybody.
You're gonna figure it out for sure. I know for a minute it took my sister after my mom passed, like, she just there was some things that you just have to do because grief is exhausting and death is exhausting, as far as like the checklist of things that happen. But then after that, she got back into her art and
Yeah,
so it's been great to just encourage her to kind of like what's next,
yeah,
and you can decide if you want to keep on with the caregiving stuff or not. Like you've got a choice. I know for me, like after my dad passed away, mom passed away, I was like, do I want to continue to do this? And then it was like, well, I can't not do it. Like it's just part of
yeah.
my DNA, and caregivers are my people.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'll still always be part of the community. I would not be able to step away. I just want to keep encouraging and um, like, keep just telling people it's going to be okay and to try to find the joy. I just
Yeah.
really, and
They need they need
these
that.
people are my friends. Like,
I know. It's all gets smushed together. It's not a
yeah,
bad
I'm like,
thing.
wow, these are my friends. These are my real friends.
Yes, I think people need to hear that too. Like it's not all heavy and everything. Like there's a lot of joy in this journey. And I almost think like some of the heavy things make the joy even brighter and shinier.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. And yeah, you can't live from a place that is always negative or hard, you know?
No. No. Awesome, Patty. Well, I'm here for you and I know that this has been so helpful to a lot of folks. So just thank you so much for coming on today. We're going to share everything that we talked about. We'll put it in the show notes so people can grab it there, but wishing you success in this, next part of your season. Your transitioning
Yep.
season is what we call it as a certified caregiving consultant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.